Okay, I went ahead and cleaned up the contacts on that. Actually, all that was really required was a small bristle brush and some contact cleaner. Again, don't know if you can see this very well, but they are definitely cleaner than they were before. So, I also cleaned up the other, basically the other three pieces to that. switch contacts on this, of course, and just some minor dirt and what have you that was in the rest of this unit, and cleaned out the cylinder here where that plunger goes in, where the key resides. There's a little spring-loaded plunger there, corresponding part of this here. Now what I did on this here is, you'll see there's grease squeezed out around the edges of this, so since I was a little concerned about trying to spread this out so I could remove this unit and clean it up properly. It wasn't actually dirty, so instead what I did is I took a small pick, like a dental pick, and basically scooped the grease off of the edges of this, and then I rotated this piece around to where these slots are open here. I think you can probably see that, but rotated around there. I reintroduced the grease there, and then just spun, it's hard to do without obscuring it, but spun this guy around to work the grease in, and I can actually feel a bit of a smoother action in there. So what I'm gonna do though also is two things. One, I'm going to put some grease on this guy since I cleaned it up. This is the guy again that goes in the top here. Actually, its home ultimately is in that section there. And I'm going to use dielectric grease just because I think there's a very remote chance that could work its way out, and if it does, I don't want to create any issues. So just a little dab there on the bearing surfaces on either side. Not too much. Just enough. And then the other thing is, there's this plate that makes contact, it sits on this section of the shaft, and I went ahead and cleaned all the bottom of that off, and ditto, I'm going to use some dielectric grease there for sure, because that definitely has the potential to work its way out of there. But just a little bit on the bottom. Oh. Slippery little booger. So that it's got a little bit of lubrication there. And then, also on these little cams, because that's what actually actuates the switches in the unit. Again, just a little bit. Let's see, that guy. Try not to make too big a mess here. And I'll probably come back once this is all assembled, and if there is any squeeze out of this stuff, which I don't think there'll be too much, I'll clean it up with a Q-tip or foam swab, something like that. And actually, I know not all of those are contact surfaces, but I can't remember which is which now, so no harm done. Anyhow, Let me get this stuff off my fingers. This is a little bit of a booger to get back in here. Make sure you put it right side up. There's a number, you can't see it, but there's a number stamped right, damn it, stamped right here on the top side. And there's a bevel on that notch on the top side also, but the number should be enough of a clue for you. Make sure your hands are clean. Pull that guy back. Drop him carefully in here. And this is a little bit of a chore. There we go. Alright. So now, that fellow's all assembled. There's my little stubby screwdriver. Yeah. Let's see if I can rotate him around. Ah, crud. Too small. Oh, hell. Let's just do it this way. Why isn't that turning? I guess the moral of that story is don't worry about it. Haha. That is a bit peculiar though. Because that should be... Oh. Never mind. I know why that's doing that. Alright. So just move it around a little bit here. You can see that switch actuate there. The other one's a little harder to see. So basically just going to make sure, I got a key tip here somewhere. Sorry for the long rambling video, but I warned you up front. Don't really need any on this side, so I'm going to wipe it off of there. I'm tempted to put it on the contacts. Just, you know, I don't know. But I'm not. So that thing's all back together. The circuit board is going to sit with contacts obviously towards this. And it'll be pretty obvious which way that goes. So let's make sure you didn't forget anything. That plunger goes in from the other side. Let me see though if I can, if this clears. It does, okay. I'm going to put it in here, which isn't the way it came apart technically, but since there is an opportunity to get it the wrong way, if you see it won't go in one direction. It'll only go in that way, so probably not a bad idea. The spring would be a good idea to put in there though. So let's do that. Spring in the center there. Come on. Okay, feels pretty good. Circuit board, I cleaned that up with the whole thing with contact cleaner and blew it off with compressed air. It wasn't actually dirty, but it's just how I roll. Stick that guy in there. Piece of cake. And well, here's the part I didn't show you on the disassembly. I want to make sure that sucker's lined up. So, assembly paranoia here, because this is a pain in the ass to get apart. Oop. I'm just pausing here because I'm trying to figure out what that catches on so it doesn't come out, that plunger section. But I guess there's just a couple of little... Son of a bitch. See, I'm making all the mistakes for you here. So yeah, the side with the ramp goes towards the white or natural colored switch, because it actually, when you push this, damn it, when you push that in, you can see what happens there. It moves that cam plate towards the white or light colored switch. Alright, let's try this again. I don't know, well, I can't rotate that thing, but maybe there we go. Okay. So I think by default it goes to the lock position. Yep. You can see it all lined up in there. And then should theoretically snap together. Let me grab my key. Now, of course, this won't actually trigger because there's no electrical interlock, which is part of the reason you're doing this anyway, right? If you got to the point where your system or your ignition switch was actually failing. Alright, so the part I didn't show you was getting this thing apart. There's 2 tabs on each side. Now what I did, because I probably, I don't know, I might have been able to get it apart without doing this, but it didn't compromise the integrity of it. So what I did is I basically took a razor blade and shaved off the top of these tabs because they stick out quite a bit more than they probably need to, and I was concerned about breaking the case. So use your own judgment on that. I took off maybe, oh, I don't know, I couldn't tell you distance wise, 20, not even 20 thousandths, 15 thousandths, but visually basically the top fourth, maybe the top quarter of the little ramp or the tab there with a razor blade.
You get ready pretty soon?
And then stuck some screwdrivers in either side here, and then I actually put them away, but I had some flat brass stock that I stuck in here into the top 2 tabs and basically worked my way. I put them in there to push those, or push the white plastic outwards to get me going, and then once I got this end loose, this became easier, and then I just stuck a stubby flat screwdriver here along the edge and kind of pried it up a little bit to kind of expedite the process. And then again here, I got in here with either that brass stock or a screwdriver. I think I was using the screwdriver at this point, and then the back set, or the opposite set from where you started, should be no problem. And that's pretty much it. These are the tabs, by the way, that you need to push in, just these 4 tabs to get it out of the console. So I'm hoping this works. If not, you'll be seeing my video on how to remove and service the steering wheel lock module, or whatever that's called. But I'm optimistic because I did actually find something that could explain why I was having an intermittent failure on this here. So best of luck to you. I'll probably, well, not probably, I'll give a status on this either via video or in some text notes as to whether this was 100% successful or not. But in any case, it was a good thing to do because I did find, like I said, some carbon tracking and some dirt where those contacts ride, so I'm sure that could be contributing to it, and certainly was not a good thing to be there.